Yeah, I'm sure it's fine though. The doctor seemed very. You know how doctors don't want to tell you.
Yeah.
He was very much like he goes. In my opinion, it's just an inflammation that's going to go away in a few weeks.
And has the cloud gotten worse or just stayed the same?
The cloud got bigger over the course of 4 days, and now it's just maintaining that.
And it just hasn't gone away.
It just does not go away. Yeah. So
should you be driving like that?
Yeah, I think it's not enough that you can't see around it, and my left eye is still pretty perfect, so so it's not so bad. I still have depth perception and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. But they had to dilate my pupils, which I never had done before because my vision's always been so good.
So you look like Mr. Burns and shit.
Well, yeah, they did. Hello. What was he saying in that state where he was like, he had that like,
I forget.
hi, friend, and we became all friendly and shit.
Yeah.
I got my pupils dilated, which was weird because they were like, there was no brown. It was like there was no brown eye. It was totally black. And then I went to that Lamb of God show that night. I couldn't drive that night. I had to get driven.
What happened? Walt reminded me about that Lamb of God show, and I never heard from you, so I was like,
no,
he must have
I
not
texted
went.
you like twice. I didn't hear back from you, so I just assumed.
I think there's something going on with my phone. People are saying they're texting me,
Yeah.
and I'm not.
You know what though? Actually, it's not. You didn't miss much.
No?
No, I'll tell you why. Well, the Lamb of God guys were great, as always. Like, went backstage, hung out with them, said hello and stuff like that. They're touring with Slipknot. And this is not a slam against Slipknot at all. It's going to sound like it, but it's not.
Or the 90 people in their band.
Yeah, it's not at all. I totally get where they're coming from. I understand it. But when they take the stage, they clear everybody out from backstage. They don't want anybody around. So I was sent from backstage to out in the audience, and drunk metal fans are unsurprisingly very enthusiastic about everything, but the ones that were enthusiastic to see me, I couldn't stay. I had to leave.
You were too popular to stay at a concert. The band was like, you were overshadowing the band.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that the way they express it is a lot of hitting, a lot of like.
They're trying to hit you?
Just smacking
sure
on the back.
You?
No, it's like.
Are you sure? Are you sure that was appreciation?
No, I mean, they weren't like clocking.
It was more of a beating than
the guy had a crowbar. It got weird. No, but like it's the enthusiastic, like hey, like slapping on the back, the hugging, the screaming. Like it was just like it was. And then on top of that, also Slipknot uses a lot of lights, and when your eyes are dilated, like it's just like so. It was like a piercing headache, booming metal music, and then drunk metal fans like just jumping on me and stuff like that. I was like, I gotta go. So you didn't miss that. You didn't miss that much. Lamb of God was great as always, but it was time to go, and they were off stage.
What do they call those kids? They're the black-eyed children or something. Is that what they call them? They're like you have to invite them into your house.
It's like
one of those like Slender Man type thing.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, Black-Eyed Children. I can't remember. I went to a concert as well, Slayer and King Diamond, and I was telling Walt there was a guy who had come here just prior to the show, and it was him and his friend and their wives or girlfriends, and they said, "Yeah, we're going to the show. Maybe we'll see you there." I'm thinking no possible way.
Right.
There's just too many people there. I'm down up front. I had like, I don't know, maybe 5th or 6th row or something.
At PNC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm in a little bit, though. I'm not quite center, but, I'm pretty close. And I see the guy who I'm pretty sure did not have seats in that area.
Right.
But he came to celebrate the Slayer by moshing, as one normally does, at concerts like that. But PNC, the seats are right up to the stage now. There's no moshing area. This was not going to slow this guy down, though. I don't know if he listens to Tell Him Steve Dave. I know he's a comic book man fan, but if he's listening, it was it was almost as entertaining to watch him as it was to watch the show. Huge black guy.
Oh, you talked about this on the show.
Did I?
Yeah.
Built like a
They threw him out, didn't they?
Somebody told me that he got arrested.
Yeah, you told me.
Yeah, my neighbor told me the other day that I don't know if it's
for
true
moshing.
or not.
It's like Footloose.
Arrested for moshing.
It's like fucking Footloose in here.
Yeah, except like when Kevin Bacon was dancing, he wasn't fucking giving people like, you know,
concussions.
Yeah,
and breaking bones.
This dude, man, it was just so. I know, like I know the people that he was slamming into probably weren't enjoying it because it would have been like getting hit by a car. He was so not fat, just like a linebacker, strong. But to watch it, just to watch people go flying, I don't know why. It's so idiotic, but it made me laugh. It just it's cracking me up. I know, it's so mean.
That's great.
I moved.
Yes.
For all those people who tell me you got to get out of there, you got to get out of there.
Moving on up, huh?
In a way. In a way. First, I've promised the final update to Screamgate.
Okay.
Now, for those who are just joining us, I was battling with a neighbor about a screen that was supposed to be in the window and wasn't. She moved it, and a bunch of other shit. So, now this is going back months and months. There was a cinder block. I was in front of my little patio area. People are constantly smoking, and they like throw cigarettes into the garden. So I take a plastic bag and I go out there and I pick up all the cigarette butts, and there's a cinder block out there. And I don't know why it's like in the garden, but I take it and I sort of like put it to the side. No sooner did I do that than this crone's head pops out the window. And she's like, that doesn't fucking belong there.
I thought you had made friends with her.
No.
Like, I thought she came over and apologized and...
That was post. We hadn't spoken.
Oh, okay.
We hadn't spoken about this yet.
Okay.
And I didn't talk about the apology yet.
Right.
So that's a little spoiler alert that that she eventually did apologize. But I look up, I said, where does it belong? And she's like, not there. Put it back. So, of course, I'm not going to put it back. Of
course.
And she's screaming at me and cursing at me. So I cursed back at her and made a remark about her haircut. Asked if she got it cut at the same place her husband did because they have the same haircuts. You know, that sort of back and forth, right?
Yeah.
So that afternoon, I wrote a letter to her and taped it on her door. And the letter, which I have here, I'll read. I won't use her name. What were we saying? Was it Mary? I think it was Mary. Mary, I deeply regret my use of such salty language this morning. Despite your unleashing a barrage of profanity upon me for merely moving a cinder block 8 feet, I'm still not the type to curse at a woman. I only pray that being subjected to my reciprocal use of obscenity is softened by the knowledge that for the past 2 years, I was completely unaware of the fact that you are female. Apologies for my presumption that you and your husband were simply engaged in a homosexual domestic partnership. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Your pal, Brian Johnson.
Did she later apologized?
So, well, I taped that to her door, and maybe an hour later, the cops come over. And it's one of the guys I know, and he's like, Brian, what's going on? And I said, here's the situation. And she said, of course she told her version of the story, which wasn't true. And I told the guy, I said, look, here's what happened. And he said, well, she doesn't want anything to do with you. So she said, if you leave her alone, she'll leave you alone. And I said, fine. I said, I didn't do anything this morning. I cursed back at her for sure, but, I moved a cinder block.
Right.
And I guess it was a couple days afterwards, her window was open. And I overhear her talking about how she's going to play it cool and she's going to be nice. And then she's going to call child services on me.
Whoa.
Now, those are fighting words.
Yeah.
So,
Did you say, Mary, I hear you?
no.
No.
No, I did not give her the heads up. I went down and I spoke to my cop friend and I said, this is what I heard today. So if suddenly there's some sort of report to Child Services about me, I want it to be known that I heard her say this.
Right.
And actually, Suzanne had heard her say it too. And if she were to report something false like that, she could be in a lot of trouble.
Right.
She never did make the report because Child Services never did come down. It was months later that she, for whatever reason, started talking to Suzanne and tried to apologize. But apology not accepted.
Of course.
Like, fuck off. Oh, and I also noticed, this is how long ago it was. It was cold enough that her husband, I call him Puffy because he has like this big puffy fucking weird hairdo. I noticed that he was warming up his car in the morning. And in New Jersey, you're allowed to idle your car for 3 minutes, and that's the max. This guy was idling his car for 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 18 minutes. So I have that camera outside.
That's right.
So I recorded him like 4 or 5 times. I sent it to a guy in the EPA who then comes down and will verify that it's going on.
Yeah.
And they give them a ticket. But it doesn't have to be signed by me.
Right.
It just has to be witnessed by this person. So let's just say old Puffy learned to warm his car up for less than 3 minutes at a clip.
Wow.
So we move.
Okay.
It's unceremonious. I'm happy because the people above us were super loud. And, we didn't have many friends. Now, we were supposed to move. What's that?
Yeah, it's hard to figure that one out.
Yeah. Well, you guys like me, right? I think I'm a pretty decent neighbor, to be honest with you. We're very quiet. We don't cause problems. But
there's a history, though, of you with neighbors, though.
That's true.
So, I mean, let's just take it. Let's go ahead, though.
Yeah, okay. So we were supposed to move not this past weekend, the weekend before. And it was actually right across the street from Walt.
My new place.
Walt's new place, because he's living temporarily somewhere else because his house is being raised. And the place I was moving was literally right across the street from him. And I was like, all right, like just like the old days, because we used to live a couple doors down in Highlands. So we're going to move in Friday. All of a sudden the realtor calls and she says, well, there's something else you need, and the landlord wants to meet you. And I didn't want to be like, why? Because I'm Brian Johnson's comic book man, So I'm like, okay. I said, well, what do you need? And it was some fucking form, but my feeling was they didn't have the COA ready.
Here you go. Here's a copy of Vulgar Signs.
Oh, God.
Have a minifigure.
They're like, we wanted your credit report. Sorry. So I'm like, all right, well, that completely fucks me up. And I was nervous because I was supposed to move out the next day, that Saturday, which would have been not this past Saturday, Saturday before.
You were nervous to meet him?
No, I was nervous. I'm like, where the fuck am I going to go?
But why? But if he wants to meet you,
Oh, no, I wasn't nervous to meet them. But I said, okay. It was a woman. And then so Saturday came and went, and the lady can't meet us. The realtor called, texts on Sunday. She can meet you today. But we weren't going to meet her at her townhouse. The realtor says she wants to come to where we live and meet us there. And I said, why? And she's like, well, she wants to meet your cats, and she wants to, meet Sage. She said your child. And she wants to see how you live. And I said, I'm thinking, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? So I wrote back, I said, look, we have 2 kittens, not a fucking feral cat colony.